Yes, it's a Lexus, but it's not as perfect as you might think.
And I don't know about you guys, but I personally think this is still such a handsome looking car. Just gross, look at this. Ugh, yuck. Okay, you guys are gonna sacrifice me for this, but I prefer the auto.
The millennial anti-theft device, or the manual transmission, they are incredibly reliable.
Okay, you might be thinking, well, this is a Lexus, nothing goes wrong with these. Sorry, but you're wrong, but we're gonna take you through all of the common problems that these can have. We're also gonna show you what they're like to live with and drive now that they're many years old, but most importantly, we're gonna tell you if you should buy one or not. Let's bloody do this. So designed to go head to head against the BMW 3 Series, the Mercedes-Benz C-Class and the Audi A4, the Lexus IS has been around since 1998. But in this video, we're just going to be focusing on the second generation cars. But if you're after information on the first generation or the third generation Lexus IS, we've made full review videos of those cars and the links are down below. But even when it comes to the second generation IS, you have options. First of all, body styles. You can have this, a 4-door sedan, or this, a 2-door like coupe convertible thing. Then in terms of firepower, here in Australia, you're going to have the choice of either a 2.5 or 3.5 litre V6, sending power to the rear wheels via most commonly a 6-speed automatic, but there are also some 6-speed manuals available, just like this. However, a fire-breathing 5-litre V8 version has also been made in the form of the Lexus ISF, but we've already made a full review video of that car. The link is also down there. But when it comes to just the 6-cylinder models, you then have a choice of trim specs, but they're going to vary depending on if the car's a pre or post update. Now that update occurred in 2008, but it wasn't just like an aesthetic and trim spec update. There were mechanical changes, the 3.5-litre engine was introduced, and there were some safety improvements made as well. Now, as well as that major update, there were also other minor updates, and for the full trim specs of what each update gets, hit pause now. Now look, obviously we're going to be covering way more about the car in this video, but if you do need all the real hardcore specifics, head to ReDriven.com and check out this car's awesome and completely free cheat sheet. Now as far as pricing goes, the really cheap ones seem to be offering so much car for the money because they're asking as little as $7,000. At the other end of the spectrum, the non-ISF ones, they're asking as much as $35,000. But this means they're asking around about the same price as a brand new Corolla sedan. So question for you, do you go a used mint condition luxury sedan or a base model new Corolla? What do you buy? Now, if you're buying either of those cars or really any car and you're looking at financing it, for God's sake, please don't pay too much. Luckily, Driver can customize you a finance package and find you the very best rates from dozens of different lenders. There are no hidden fees and the whole thing is done completely online. Plus, if you do all of that via the link down there, we're going to give you a free $150 fuel voucher. Now, speaking about the current gen Corolla sedan, fun fact, this is pretty much the same size as a new Corolla sedan. In fact, it's actually slightly shorter and slightly lower than the Corolla. And I don't know about you guys, but I personally think this is still such a handsome looking car. But obviously you're going to miss out on the love it or hate it huge grille of the third generation IS, but I just think all the proportions are spot on. Also, look, I know it's on the conservative side of design here, but I think it's aging really gracefully. Like the C-Class Merc of this generation, for me, that just looks old. This still looks not current, but good. Although, when they're wearing like the smaller alloy wheels and at the standard ride height, it can start looking a little bit grandpa spec. And speaking of grandpa spec, inside, I just feel like it's a little bit too sensible. Like, it's not a bad place to be at all, but as far as design-wise goes, it just can't match the European competition, sorry. See, like what I mean is like the Mercedes and the Audi and the BMW, they give you this like instant feeling that you're in like a premium prestige vehicle. This one doesn't quite as much. Look, it doesn't feel like cheap and nasty at all, but it is aging and you can certainly tell. I'll show you, here we go. Firstly, I should mention this thing is 17 years old and it has over 288,000 kilometers on it. It is used all the time. So let's give it a bit of leeway for that. But wear and tear, interesting. First of all, dashboard, it's doing this clammy thing. We'll cover that more in detail in a second. There is a bit of movement to the center console. The gear shift boots kind of come all loose. Door cards, like these are all chipped up. Steering wheel, the leather's kind of falling apart a little bit. There's some, I don't know if you can hear that, but some squeaks and weird noises in the seats. Wear and tear, 288,000 Ks, yeah, you can tell. The leather still feels really, really nice. Actually, just on the leather, and more specifically the seats, Driving position is fantastic. A few people online said that you sit too high. I hate sitting too high in cars, but I don't think so. I feel like the seating position is fantastic, and just the ergonomics and comfort of the seats, fantastic. Also, like the way everything that you use feels, like the tactility of all the buttons and everything, it still feels really, really good. But then you look around here and like I suppose where the dashboard's starting to kind of engulf the center console, that's a bit on the nasty side. Now, as far as practicality goes, it's okay. You've got a pretty good sized glove box with a separate shelf in there. You've got an ashtray and a cigarette lighter. That is gross because smoking is disgusting. There's Uno cup holder, but I suppose you could fit your phone in there as well. You've got a slidey armrest, and that also opens up with a little storage bin there. You've got door pockets that expand out, and that's it. There's no storage under here, nowhere for your sunglasses, nothing under the seats. That's it for practicality up front. Now in the back seat, I'm exactly 1 centimeter shorter than someone else that has the initials IS, Idris Selba. This is in my driving position, and first of all, the seats are so comfortable, but I have almost no foot room at all. I've got to do the full OnlyFans style leg spread to get my legs in here. So from waist up, or kind of half hamstring up, very comfortable. From there down, no, I'm squished. Also, forget sitting in the middle seat because the transmission tunnel is bloody huge. So unless you've got no legs or you're a toddler, no luck. Wear and tear in the back of this particular car, obviously every Lexus IS is going to be different on wear and tear, but for this one, unlike the front, the wear and tear is fantastic. The leather on the seats, it honestly feels almost new. It is that supple. The door cards are in great condition. There's no kind of deterioration at all. A few scratches here and there, but they're easily cleaned up. Wear and tear, great. Now, as far as practicality goes in the back seat, you've got a spot for your collection of toothpicks just there. You've got your own air vents. You've got these mat pocket holders at the back. Now, I can't find any cup holders in here. You do have like an armrest that has, I think I just found the cup holders, hang on. You've got storage here, and these are all like velour lined, which is fantastic. And cup holders, I knew they were here somewhere. Yeah, little transformer style cup holders there. But we do have a bit of a criticism. The seats don't fold down at all. There is like a little trapdoor to get into the boot here, but yeah, they don't fold, and that's just frustrating. Now, space in the boot, it's okay. It's not the best in class, it's not the worst in class. There's a bit of a load lip here and the aperture isn't huge, but for what this car is, it does the job. But also, again, seats don't fold forward. Bloody annoying. But one thing we did just find in the boot, an official Lexus first aid kit that has clearly never been used. That's a good thing, and there's a specific spot for it just there. Excellent. But that's not all, because under here, you've then got like an official Lexus toolkit, and then like this valet pack, which has like your reflecting triangle, and then in here, check this out, you've got a Lexus towel, Lexus gloves, Lexus hand wash, which has clearly never been used, and like a Lexus windscreen protector, or dashboard protector. Shame that doesn't work. But how good is that? So, okay, seats don't fold down, but overall, pretty impressive. So as we mentioned, these things were designed and engineered and marketed to go head-to-head against BMW, Mercedes-Benz, Audi, all those brands. But Lexus maybe doesn't have the same kind of brand appeal as the Europeans. So instead, Lexus focused on just build quality and also giving these things a huge range of standard equipment. So even in the earlier lower spec cars, you're going to get a 13-speaker sound system, leather seats, dual zone climate control, and all of this and so much more. But spec up to a more recent and higher spec car, and you're going to get a phenomenal sounding 14-speaker Mark Levinson sound system, premium leather, Bluetooth connectivity, a reversing camera, and all of this and more. Now, obviously with the age of these, you're not going to get Apple CarPlay or Android Auto as standard, but the good news is it's super easy to install by replacing this. And with how old these infotainment systems are getting, yeah, you should probably replace it anyway. Now, as far as safety goes, with the age of these, you're probably thinking they don't come with a whole lot of safety equipment, but find the right model and the right example, and you might be surprised. But to take you through the safety features that you can expect, it seems only right that we cut to somebody that is, let's say, a representative of the demographic that buy Lexus vehicles. It's Sir David Attenborough.
Delving into the safety features like an endangered monk seal does into the Mediterranean. You'll be cocooned in safety features such as 8 airbags, ABS, brake assist, electronic stability control and traction control. The early sports luxury models also feature pre-collision systems. However, post-update models replaced existing traction and stability control systems with vehicle dynamics integrated management technology, including active cruise control and some levels of autonomous braking. As always, for the specific details, all the information you require is located on the cheat sheet.
So apparently this was the area that the Lexus just couldn't match BMW, Mercedes or Audi in the driving. Is that still the case? You know what? It just doesn't matter because it's all subjective. Like you might love how a 3 Series drives, but the next person's gonna love an Audi A4. Again, it's all subjective. Just know that in normal conditions, at real world speeds, or even driving enthusiastically, this thing feels just as special as all of the European competition. But specifically in this, the first thing that hits you is just how quiet and refined it all is. There are no rattles, there are no squeaks, there's hardly any exterior sound, there's no road or wind noise. It sounds so much more expensive than it is. And look, I know we're all mourning the loss of, a naturally aspirated V8, but let's spare a thought for a naturally aspirated V6 because this engine is so nice, it's so smooth. And when you do squeeze the throttle, I'm actually glad it's not incredibly fast because it means that you get to experience the power delivery and just, I suppose, the characteristics of the engine for a longer period of time. Unfortunately though, when you do squeeze the throttle pedal, the fuel consumption isn't exactly a highlight. This thing is averaging 13.6 litres per 100 Ks. Now, you'd think this wonderful engine would be assisted by a manual transmission, and okay, you guys are gonna sacrifice me for this, but I prefer the auto. The manual, look, it's great that you can change the gears yourself, but it's not exactly a standout of a manual transmission. Like, it's a little bit on the sloppy side. Even ratios wise, I don't know if it really suits as such. It doesn't feel as convincing as the auto. I'm so sorry about that, but that's just my opinion. But then look, ride quality and handling, so good. Like it is on the sportier side, but it's totally compliant, totally comfortable. Actual handling as well, like it feels right. The steering, it's a standout, really direct. It never feels like it's going to understeer, even if you're kind of having some fun with it. Overall, this package is it's just fantastic. But where this wins over so much of the competition is in the confidence it gives you. You know it's never going to let you down. You know it's not going to rattle itself to pieces. Hopefully it's going to be ultra reliable. And that can't be said for a lot of the Euro competition. Okay, now you might be thinking this section of the video is going to be pretty much non-existent because it's a Lexus, but I'm afraid there are some issues. Let's start with the exterior. Now this one's pretty common across a load of Toyota and Lexus models of this generation, but door lock actuators, they're known to play up. Now this one mainly affects cars from 2007, but the headlights can have issues like flickering or sometimes turning off and on completely. Apparently it is a deeper electronic issue, not just the light itself. Not exactly a common problem as such, but it does happen. Okay, this is a really dangerous one. If your wiper blades are like old and crusty, you're not going to be able to see where you're going when it rains. Luckily, Wiper Tech can help with that. Simply hit the link below to get 15% off and free express shipping on some of the best wiper blades we've ever used. They're easy to order online, they're shipped to your door, they're easy to fit, and they're bloody awesome. Okay, now common issues inside, and as we alluded to before, sticky dashboards and just sticky and melting interior trim. This is super common amongst the earlier models of this generation and can be a complete nightmare to fix. Sometimes needs a whole new dashboard, new door cards. It's just gross, look at this. Ugh, yuck. Also, another issue with the sticky dashboard is if it gets shiny enough, no matter how good those Wiper Tech wiper blades are, you're not going to be able to see where you're going through the reflection of your dash. You know what? We're going to give this an official name for Lexus owners. This is now called Sticky Dash Pudding. Also, the rear view mirrors, these can kind of discolor and get like a sepia tone to them, so it makes everything behind you look like it's from the 1930s. Okay, this next one isn't exclusive to this car, it's a Toyota and Lexus thing. The infotainment systems, they suck. The Bluetooth drops out, sometimes it doesn't connect, the screens can go blank, even the radio stations can just completely drop out. As I said before, piss this off and just get a better quality aftermarket system. Actually, also on the infotainment system, or more specifically the speakers, this is a rare one, but apparently like water can leak into the boot and eventually finds its way into the amplifier that powers the speakers and just completely fries the whole system. A rare one, but expensive to fix. Now, we couldn't have made this video without the help of some really important people. First of all, Shannon, mate, thank you for lending us your car. You're an absolute legend. Lexus IS owners groups. Wow, the knowledge and advice you guys have given us when researching this, we couldn't have made this video without you. And finally, thank you. See, it's because of you watching and supporting us that allows us to make these videos in the first place. And the more of you that support us by hitting that subscribe button, the bigger and better videos we can make for you. So thank you so much. Okay, now mechanically, what goes wrong with these? I'm really sorry, I can't tell you because I'm not a qualified mechanic. Luckily, Jim is.
Yes, it's a Lexus, but it's not as perfect as you might think. For example, you might see the odd water pump leak or the occasional oil leak, but nowhere near as often as other cars in its class. And just on those oil leaks, usually it's the valve cover or the timing gaskets that leak. Now, thankfully on these IS models, the engine is mounted longitudinally, which makes access far better. When these engines are mounted transversely in an RX model, for example, they're way harder to work on. Not that you have to do it very often. The VVT gears or the variable valve timing gears in these, in the early models, were a bit problematic, but they did sort that out in the later models, and it wasn't a very common problem. The timing chains on these things are bulletproof, and I'm only mentioning them to draw attention to some of their European competitors, where all of them have massively problematic timing chains that cost thousands to fix. Not in these, they're never a problem. Occasionally, we've seen some head gasket issues. Now, typically that's a result of poor maintenance because the head gaskets in these are a multi-layer steel gasket. And if the coolant is not changed frequently or kept up to spec, the gaskets actually rust, which causes the head gasket issues. So keep the coolant up to date, won't be a problem. And if they've had a sketchy service history, some of them can use a bit of oil. But even these things, their tolerance for neglect is way higher than other cars in their class. The millennial anti-theft device or the manual transmission, like the one in our test car, look, they are incredibly reliable and they do share a lot of parts with a lot of other rear-wheel drive Toyota gearboxes, so typically never a problem. The autos in these, which is the majority of them, do share a lot of internal components with other Toyota and Aisin automatic transmissions. They are pretty reliable, but when they do fail, they are pretty expensive to fix, but it doesn't happen too often, especially if they're well maintained. So overall, generally, yeah, very reliable, although they are getting to the age now where a lot of the plastics and rubbers are starting to get a bit brittle, so you will need to keep an eye on that. But even still, mechanically, this is still by far the most reliable car in its class.
Okay, so after all that, should you buy one? Simply, yeah, of course you should. Obviously, do your homework and don't buy an abused one unless you're buying it as some kind of a project car. But honestly, you should buy one of these over pretty much any other car in this class, except maybe a Toyota Crown. But we've covered that in a whole other video. Link is down there. But then obviously this brings us to a question for you. Would you buy one of these, or do you stick with a BMW 3 Series or a C-Class or an A4? Let us know in the comments below. See you next time. Oh, I'm sorry guys, but your brain just stopped. The Lexus IS has been around since 1998. But the Lexus IS has actually been around since 1998.
And just on those oil leaks, share a lot of common parts with a lot of rear-wheel drive Toyota manual transmissions. Oh, I think I just swallowed a bug. And thankfully in the IS models, the engine is mounted longitudinally, which actually makes...
You got it.